we expect, we would like to target that in this. Do you still hear me, Narisa? Nor, ni Sultan? Okay, paman ko no at your end.
Yes
Nor?
po. Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. One of my limitations of delivering this subject, of course, is our venue. Kasi syempre, we need an internet. And so, talagang, dito, talagang, kailangan didiri ko. If you cannot hear my background noise, I can hear it. Medyo difficult talaga. Maybe I can transfer, I think. Okay. Oh, wait. Going back, we expect that at the end of the chapter, we will be able to target these three learning objectives. Na? And as you can see on the screen, we will be able to compare and contrast the words sex from gender. And we will be able also to differentiate between major theoretical perspectives and view of gender lens. Okay, so in the context of gender, what is functionalist, what is conflict, and what is symbolic interactions. Okay, and that the third bullet that we can see there is evaluate the importance of gender roles in the society. So, siguro by word, you know what is sex and you know what is gender. But in the subject, it will be expound well. And sometimes, makarealize nila dahil hala, lagi no, I think there's no difference. I think it's the same, di ba? So, uh, again, that's what we will have to tackle in this first chapter. Okay. Sige nga, if you can share it to the class, I will just call anyone from the class of whether sex and gender, these two are the same or are they two different words? May I call um, Johnson? Ah, yeah, there's a volunteer. I hear a volunteer. Who was that speaking?
It's me, ma'am.
Yeah, who is
Bagahog
that?
po.
Yeah, yes, please, Kyla. What do you
Ma'am,
think are these?
yeah,
Yes,
for
please.
me, ma'am, in my opinion, I believe sex and gender is different
Mm-hmm.
because, as what I have read in a lot of informations, sex is something that you are born with. For example, female, male, something that you are associated with, something that is not your choice because you were born with it, with the
Correct.
male and
Yeah.
female. And
Correct,
gender
correct.
is something that you prefer to refer yourself to be. May it be she, he, him, they. So I believe these two are different po.
Yeah, that's very good, Kyla. But there are these two words that you're avoiding to use. What are these two things that you are born with?
Yes.
Yeah, what are these two things that you would like to say that each of these two uh, uh, these two sexes are born with?
Kaan, ma'am, like female and male nga genitals jud, ma'am, ingan
And then they are called as we
kaan, ma'am.
we're adults kaya Kyla.
Sige, ma'am.
It's all right to say that.
Okay, ma'am. So I believe it is for the male, it is the private part, which is penis, and for the female,
Mhm.
it is vagina po.
Okay, nganong lisod man litukod.
No?
Okay.
Naugnaw lang ko.
Kaya oh yeah, yeah, it's all right. That's that is actually very normal, no. It's intimidating as to the kita lady to mention this. Mas intimidating yun pag Bisaya, no? And that is why, yeah. Thank you very much for that rejoinder, Kyla. I would love to also listen to students, no, who can inter say for our discussion to be more interactive, no. So yes, for a
Thank you,
male it's
ma'am.
penis, yeah. For the male it's what we call the genital this organ, the penis, and for the female the vagina. So kaya nga it's better to say it in English, no, kay murag kanang dili kaayo siya kanang ulaw ilitok, but if it's already in our dialect naglisod kayo siya. And we are giving this orientation ba kanang not really orientation, or is it orientation or briefing, na there are these kanang mga sessions on vaginal monologues, di ba? Vaginal monologues, if you've heard that. And they are coming to different schools, na mag-ano sila, mag-session sila sa lahi-lahi na schools, and that kanang ilang i-portray na kanang maghiskot sila na ako until karon di gid gyapon ko lisod kay siya ilitok, but in this vaginal monologues na it's all right to say this private parts because it's just a word, diba? It's just a word, and that we can say it. But actually, that's not really about our subject na on the vaginal monologues. I just noticed kasi na uh, private parts lang giingon ni Kyla earlier, and that's why I would want her to say kahit in English it's more dili mo kaya siya ano. So with what you've heard from Kyla, yes it is. She mentioned about the sexual organs of what you are born with. I'm still having a class right now. Of what you are born with, no? Yan, very clear kaayo to of what Kyla said. And as for gender, of what you would want to associate with your preference. Okay, very clear kay itong giingon ni Kyla. And then, is there anyone who would like to give another definition of this sex and gender aside from what Kyla has said? Any rejoinder, any additional? If you would like to have another picture of these two words, meaning of these two words, can I call? Sige, that's from a ano no definition coming from a lady. Let's ask daw kuno Kent Ochate. Kent, how do you define these two words, Kent? Are they two the same meaning, or are they different from each other? Ken? Hello, Ken. Okay, we don't have answer from Ken. Johnson Fernandez. John? Sige, no answer from Johnson. Wag namingaw og kalit. Isaiah Lin.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Thank you. It's not an ano no kanang these two words that I would want you to compare and contrast with. It's not something opinionated siya. It's actually the definition of it. So are these two words the same in definition, or are they different?
Para na ko, ma'am, is different.
Mm-hmm.
Kay, um, ang sex is more on biological na kuan, ma'am, no, sa tao, of a person.
Mm-hmm.
Then ang gender is like how he or she wants to portray siyang self, like more role. Yan.
Mm-hmm.
So, para na ako.
Wow, that's very good. Thank you. So, you have different ways. Thank you very much, Isaiah. You have different ways of saying it, no? As for Miss Bagaho kanina, very clear kay tong iyaha when she said what you are born with, no? And then what you prefer to be associated with. And as for you said sex is the biological, and then for gender is what you would want to portray. So very clear also. So if your classmates are listening, yes, that's it. They are not the same words, okay? And that is why as I had the opportunity to deliver. Oops, how do I do that? Oh, wait, how do I go back? Ha? Lagi kay ano, magdungog minimum. Sorry. Oh my God, di na daw ko pag-iba. Right. Right. Can I return my ano din, my slide to my previous slide? I cannot go back to my previous slide. Oh, it's, diba? Try. Gusto ko ibalik sa aking first slide. I there. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So going back, thank you for Miss Bagaho and Mr. Lim for helping me or making it very clear to the class of whether is there sameness and is there a contrast to these two words. Yes, that was very clear that it's the physical aspect of the human body. Fixed at birth. Klaro kay na, klaro kay na sa giingon ni Kyla kaganina. It's what you are, it's what you have. What do you have already? So it was very makasense na dayon tanga. She was referring to the sexual organ, and that's what the other classmates of theirs said, the biological, and it's the penis and the vagina. And as for gender, we have their psychological, social, or cultural, the product of society, socially constructed. And the word used earlier by your classmate is what the person would want to portray, okay? In quotation, what the person would want to portray. Hindi mo ko niyo makita sa camera, guys. So, nag-action tuod ko dire. So, more quotation, no? My two hands are up with ano, uh, the quotation. So, it's according to your cultural background. And uh, here, in addition, we have the masculinity and femininity, not determined at birth. Exactly, not determined at birth. If the other one is fixed at birth, the other one is not determined at birth. And that is why if I remember as I begin or began to teach this subject, I remember if I hope you can still hear me, no? Okay, very noisy na kaya akong background. Do you still hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. Kay Gaga, struggle pag ko diri og kanang hoping that you can still hear me despite the noise that I have here. I still remember no filling out a form before na siya ka ng sex. Nya na form na walay sex pero na ay gender. And then ang choices, kuan lang yun, M of F. And so as we are educated, as we are gradually are oriented of the different the contrast and contrast and the comparison or yeah the difference of these two words. I realized, labi na ako no at personally, I realized that was a wrong form. Okay, it was a wrong form that I have filled out kay mangutana mag-gender tapos ang choices kay MOF. It's not. But there are there is also a form na ay ang both words, the sex and then the next form that you have to fill out part of the form is the gender preference. And that's what it is, di ba? So, maugani nang sa inyohang kanang bag-o karon sa Facebook account, aside from the name, aside from your profession or your interest, naagi na nakabutan that she slash her, he slash his, di ba? So, yeah, because you would want to be very clear of your gender preference. Yeah, and yes, by the etymology of the words, or from Latin word, sex is sexus, and for gender, genus or genus, okay, genus. Yeah, if it's in the earlier slide, masculinity or femininity, okay, so that's why we call it the maleness and femaleness. It's the same, the maleness and femaleness. And there, in addition, it is also be based on legal status, social interactions, public persona, personal experiences, and psychological uh, setting. So that's that's the use of these two words. Why did I say use? Kay, most especially if you feel outformed ba, uh, labi na pag mag-apply ka, okay, and application for a what? For a board exam maybe, or an application for joining an organization, or an application for application for a job, di ba? Naman na, that's what we call PDS, no, personal data sheet. Tama ginang sex diha. Pero how do you call this one? Uh, it's not really usual nga naa ang gender. Okay, before, agkasayop no, gaka-exchange ang terminology. We thought that gender is at the same time sex. That's why I realized na sayop na itong form nga kung i-fill outan of asking a gender nga ang choices M o F. But going back to applying job, applying in an organization or what, it's because they would want to know na uh, what your sex is. kung what sexual organ do you have. Di ba? Kay, mao man na siya ang ipangay. What do they expect of you? Okay? What do they expect of you? Magsanina ba or mag kanang suit ba? But nowadays, we are gradually kanang very open ano, kay ang babae pwedeng ba makasuot og suit whether you are really truly straight nga female ka, di ba? So uh, so it's like that. It's we can say that our society is complicated. Kung i-base na to in the past, okay, the pre-industrial era, mao siya, ang idea in the past makes our society at present complicated. That's my opinion ha. Walang kinalaman ang university nito or whatsoever ang book. That's my opinion. Kaya syempre, kay na-stereotype man ta before. Okay? Na-stereotype man ta nga like that. So, that's why we are discussing that in this subject. And that is why I would say this subject is relevant. It is important, and yes, and at the same time, it is relevant because in the future you would become managers, you would become leaders. Do you like draw a line of excluding your LGBTQ members of your organization, of your team? Hindi. 'Di ba? So from now, i-process na nato na nga uh, uh, just like what I said, did I tell you yesterday na wala na to dili requirement ang wala tag require i-accept sila or i-understand sila. But as for me, we owe them respect kung ano. So masyadong maaga to be discussing about that because actually we are still on the definition of these terminologies. Yeah. Okay. So here on this slide, we are the one in this slide, it is according to the World Health Organization, no? That it's the WHO or the World Health Organization define gender as socially constructed characteristics of a male and female person. Again, it does not replace the terms. Okay, so yeah, I would want to request the same to read the definition here or a more expound word or more expound explanation on gender. We have three bullets there. Zisane, you please read. Hello, Zisane. Zisane is not responding. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Zisane. Zisane, if you're still there. Oh, ikaw na lang, Earl. Murag laat na si Zisane.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please. Kindly read this part, Earl.
Okay, ma'am. Kanang gender, socially constructed roles ascribed or attributed to the individual. Next is these roles change over time and vary widely within and between cultures. Next is socially learned behavior and expectations that distinguish between masculinity and femininity. Lastly is expectations held about the characteristic, aptitudes, and like behaviors of both men and women. The WHO,
Okay.
bilihan na basahan, ma'am?
Yeah, go ahead. Kina, ano, please go ahead.
The World Health Organization defined gender as socially constructed characteristics of a female and male person. It does not replace the term sex.
Okay. Very clear, Kaayo, no? Thank you very much, Earl J. That was very well read. Uh, it's a socially constructed roles. Earlier, that's what Isaiah would want to mean. No? It's how the person, an individual would want to portray. Yeah, lalaki siya, uh, kanang whatever. Yeah, okay, lalaki siya. So it's very clear na his sexual organ is penis, no? But the way he would want to portray himself is there is femininity, okay? And so that's a choice. Okay, that's always a choice, and that is why I would say that uh, gender is something that uh, you are free with personally. Okay, kanang free. The person must be very free of as to what he or she feels because it's his or her choice. But when we talk about gender, dili siya about being bayot or being tomboy, guys. Because again, it's very clear there sa pinakaunang bullet, socially constructed roles, okay, attributed to the individual. So even if this man and woman are married, okay, they're married, but they agree with each other that the woman will have to work and the man will have to be staying at home, and that's being house husband. Okay? And breadwinner ang babae, that is something about uh, socially constructed role. Okay? Kay, again, di ba, I mentioned earlier, we were stereotyped in the past. We are influenced of the stereotyping in the past kasi. Diba? And these are the sociological theories that we're going to discuss, the functionalist theories, okay, how do each member in the family must function, diba? We will go to that. So, yeah, ako, you've heard, you've seen in TV already sa mga blended family pa ang tawag na ano, nga tomboy ang mama, bayot ang papa, but okay, they're okay. They raise a family. So, before the society in the past must have must be labeling that kind of family as dysfunctional. No, kay dili man na mao nga ana nga tumboy na much more if they are with the same sex raising a family. But and that is why we have this subject. And again, for the second time or nth time, this makes the subject very relevant para we again can process kanang normal pa ba ni ma'am basig mo ana na mo ba normal pa ba ni ma'am and sometimes ang mga issues and trends in the society or in this environment we live in, okay, kanang murag dili na kapakasabot, we process that here in the subject. Normal pa ba ni ma'am kanang ako na ba ang ano ang kanang mugib-in na ba ko kanang ano no. And there's no need, again, I would like to make this clear. There's no need for you, no, I'm not requiring you to share an experience or to share an experience of somebody else nga ano if you are not comfortable. Dili man pud ko ganahan na you will be saying names or pointing at person nga ing ano. Okay? Uh, even if ano pa siya, maski pa i-blind item, dili mapod if you are not comfortable. Someone has to share an experience na you're comfortable with, and then you think you will be okay with. So, dili ayaw ko ana kanang pwede ra pud nga magpaminaw-paminaw lang ta. Maminaw lang ta dire and we learn from each other. And then again, we respect each other. So these roles change over time and vary widely within and between cultures. Okay? Lahi-lahi ba ya? In our culture, here in the Philippines, especially Christianity, ano ra gid siya? One spouse ra gid siya. But in an Islam culture, it can be more than one spouse, one wife, di ba? So, kana lang daan, we have to consider that. And then, similar to the stereotype na ang babae mag-skirt, ang lalaki na jeans in our culture, how come in the other culture, na pwede mag-skirt ang lalaki. Okay? So, these are things na kanang we really need to consider. Okay? And that we gradually can be kanang ano, we can adjust to this. Dapat di siya angay sa ito. Kay, ano, socially learned behavior and expectation that distinguish between masculinity and femininity, expectations held about the characteristics, aptitudes, and likely behaviors of both men and women. Okay. Sige. Yeah, I've said this also, but I would want to request SD Jude to read this to us, please. SD, if you're
Yes,
still
ma'am.
there. Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
SD.
Gender. Acceptable characteristics of gender vary between societies. For example, in countries influenced by the American culture, including the Philippines, women wear skirts and long dresses as these are associated with being feminine and are socially appropriate for the female sex. However, in Eastern, Asia, and African cultures, men wear long robes, while Scottish men wear a kilt. These cultural differences show that gender and their characteristics are dependent on what the community deemed acceptable.
Yes, and it changed over time. Thank you very much, SD. That was very clearly read, no? And magdepende ra gyud na siya sa culture, no? And that is why we need to carefully discuss of these gender issues before kay gender roles, no? And then here comes gender equality. Okay. So issue kayo ng ang lalaki na di dapat magtrabaho, ang babae dili na. Kaya daw big gusto magid mo trabaho ang babae, ang wife, di ba? And then gender equality, dili pwede maging president ang babae. Kaya dapat lalaki ra gyud ang mag-president. So issue kayo ang superiority sa men og og ang inferiority sa women. Pero medyo naa pa po yung mga men these days nga dili pa gid maka-accept nga lumalaban tungod man gud sa term nga lumalaban or palaban no nga kanang naay mga karon na ano na hinuon nga ang good leaders daw are women. It's not. Sana dili na to atagag color or issue na ang maayo mo lead sa country kay lalaki ra, dili maayo ang babae, very weak. Okay? uh, Sana hindi, and that's why we need to discuss that in this subject as to gender and society, good, very clear na what do the society or what does the society ba expect from these issues on gender, on how do we uh, how do you call this one? Not really react, no. Okay, react is kind of negative. How to become proactive? Okay, proactive in terms of this kind of. We need to be. We need to adjust to it. Or, magpasakay na lang ko. It's not. Mubalik pag gyapon siya sa word na respect. Okay, so as for gender lens, we need to look at these three sociological theories. What you can see on your screen, of course, is the functionalist perspective, conflict perspective, and symbolic interactionist perspective. Okay, using the gender lens, meaning, uh, para siyang ano guys na these theories have come up or brought up, okay, have naging ano siya na propose siya nga terms. It's because of wanting to really be clarified of what gender is. Okay, nganong very ano kay tag napag yung mga term nga gender sensitive, di ba? Na kinahanglan i-address gid siya og miss, i-address gid siya og mister, and then that she, he, her, him, his, okay? So, uh, in the context of gender, in the gender lens, we will look at these three theories, okay? So first, we go to the functionalist perspective. Okay. May I request Najib to read to us the functionalist perspective? Najib, if you are there. Najib,
Ma'am,
yes. Yes, please. Can you read?
the functionalist perspective emphasizes the interconnectedness of society by focusing on how each part influences and is influenced by other parts. Functionalist perspectives explores the what ought to be of a particular individual. The functionalist perspectives sees society as a complex system whose parts work together to promote solidarity and stability. This approach looks at society through a macro level orientation and broadly focuses on social structures that shape society as whole.
Yes, very good. Thank you, Najib. And that's what uh, we would like to begin with this first sociological theory. Sociological theory. When we talk about sociological theory, it's uh, the study in the society. Okay, study in the society. Why do individuals behave such? Okay, and kani siya gi-research kini siya dili ni siya nga upon observation lang eye to eye, okay, kay kung observation lang chismis na siya okay, wala siya study. So meaning in the past there must be like survey forms or kana, you know, so naagi mga studies from MAs to PhD or researchers, no, and that's why this is able to kanang na nahimo ang term na functionalist perspective as it was read by Najib, how each part influences and is influenced by other parts. No, kaya that's highlighted. And what ought to be, what is expected of yeah, what is expected. Wala pa diya reveal niya in this slide. But here, another highlighted line, see society as a complex system whose parts work together to promote solidarity and stability. Okay, and this structure, we think that this shape the society as a whole. We think, okay, we thought that this shape the society as a whole. So, mo na siya nga, o sige, and that's why it's the next na na slide. Okay, and that is why sa next na slide is mura siya gi-impose ba? Okay, gi-impose siya, my dear students, na man or husband, okay, man or husband must be the one to go out and work, and that woman or wife must stay at home and be nurturing and caring. Okay, so that that idea will really have to create stability. Okay, as it is seen here, as it is seen here, social structures that shape society as a whole, and that we thought of that, okay, that it is functional. Okay, kay mao man siya ang gi-impose sa society na ang lalaki mo gawas magtrabaho, ang babae magstay at home kay ano manglimpyo. And that's how these parents in this functionalist perspective, that's how they will have to train, okay, they will have to train their children. And as for dysfunctional, if it's not like accepted in the society, that becomes dysfunctional. Okay. Now, if a colonel father, eh, that's yeah, because colonel nga siya sa society, expect, okay, expected by the society nga discipline ang iyang anak nga lalaki, di ba? Nga nga dapat dili bayo, right? Kay iyang papa colonel. But that's in the past. Okay? Kay mauman ano, but if you can see uh here sa functionalist perspective, okay, it obtains social order basta in a family na ay education, okay, free of crime, okay, free of crime, that there is religion, and that here the family as the primary socialization, that each of an individual is a member of a family, the first social unit, no, kana, and we have the social order. Pero dysfunctional siya, guys, if uh, a member of the family commits a crime. Okay, that becomes dysfunctional. But actually, another ano po sa dysfunctional is yun nga katong societal expectations bitaw. Okay, societal expectation na uh, kernel ang papa, dapat discipline ang mga anak. Okay, but actually, uh, as long pag it hurts the society, if it hurts the society like committing a crime, okay, that is this a dysfunctional family. Pero before, ang expected nga sa ang dysfunctional ng family, pag dili siya accepted sa society, naburos ang anak, wala pang ninyo, no, big deal kaayo. Okay, big deal. So functionalist perspective. Okay. I have 3 minutes that I'd like to end sa functionalist perspective. No? Then siguro by next meeting we can move on to the conflict perspective. But as what you have seen in the screen, may I request Neshma to read. Neshma, if you're still there, please. Neshma, hello. Oh, Neshma is not responding. How about Aaron?
Um, Ma'am,
Yeah, oh, thank you, Aaron, for responding. Can you please read what's on this slide?
functionalist perspectives. Functionalists argue that gender roles were established well before the pre-industrial era, and men typically took care of responsibilities outside of the home, such as hunting, and women typically took care of domestic responsibilities in or around the home. These roles were considered functional because women were often limited by the physical restraints of pregnancy and nursing and unable to leave the home for a long period of time. Once established, these roles were passed on to subsequent generations since they serve as an effective to keep family system functioning properly.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Picaro. That was Aaron Julius. Yeah. So that was very clear na sa pre-industrial era when men typically take care, okay, or took care of responsibilities. Kasi kana man ang gusto sa society, in, ano, even pa sa Elizabethan period, di ba? Elizabethan period, maugid siya. No? Sa mga karaan pa yun, dapat dili siya nakakalalaki kung ano. But it's not. Nowadays, we tend to kanang understand. Ako, moabot naman taan nga part ng ansay tawag sa kanang ang wife na nagtrabaho. In my case, in my family, ako ang nag-work. My husband stays at home aside from him helping his very old na So, before, grabe, ikaulaw din na siya nga but I have known few friends nga ana pud ang kanang house husband, okay, house husband and partner, ang wife is of course, ang wife bali ako ang friend na maoy ano maoy nag-work. So yes, that is functionalist perspective. Diha na dayon ni arise ang issue on gender no nga gradually nagka-gradual na dahil siya. Women would like also to help work, okay? Go out from homes and work. Kay dili pwede ug mauli lang ang bana and then mag-raise og daghan mga bata tapos dili day kaya sa sweldo sa bana. Something like that, very personal. Okay, sabi ka ng personal na ko na ano lang view ba nga burusan lang lugar dayon ang wife and then nagamit kayahon sa sweldo. So, uh, the wife may help work. Okay, so here in this slide, the two images that we have here, una siya ang perspective sa functionalist, right? The gender helps all of society work well. And so we can, it's already 4:31, I guess, or 4:32. 4:30 pa. Pero, yeah. Sige. Until there lang because that's where the functionalist perspective is. Yeah. So